The first time a teenager told me, "You're not invited. Get off the property before I call security," I honestly thought I'd misheard her. Like maybe I'd wandered onto the wrong porch in the wrong universe. Then she shoved me on my own front steps like I was some random weirdo crashing her pool party. That's when I realized I wasn't dealing with kids anymore. I was dealing with a whole culture of entitlement that had been trained, polished, and unleashed. My name's Madison Walker. I'm 48, and I've been the police chief in a small Texas town for 5 years. I live on a 25-acre ranch I inherited from my dad, wide sky, dusty fence lines, cattle pond, out back a barn that still smells like hay and old leather if you stand close enough and breathe in slow. I've worked my whole life to keep it peaceful. I'm the kind of person who waves at my neighbors, brings extra folding chairs when the town hosts a fundraiser, and tries to be fair even when folks don't deserve it. Because law enforcement's a whole lot easier when you don't make enemies for fun. A few weeks before everything blew up, I went to Austin for a 4-day leadership summit. Nothing fancy, just the usual handshakes, panels, a couple awards, and a bad hotel coffee situation. I told the HOA secretary I'd be out of town mostly as a courtesy because my ranch isn't even under their jurisdiction. They've tried to rope me in for years, but I've always declined politely. I also told my ranch hand Jose to keep an eye on the livestock and lock the gate every night. Jose's solid, quiet, steady, the kind of man who doesn't talk much but always does what he says. What I didn't plan for was Karen. Yes. Her name is really Karen, like the universe has a sense of humor and likes to rub it in. Karen is the acting president of that HOA, the kind of woman who treats a clipboard like a scepter and believes community standards apply to everyone except her. She's been mad I won't join their little kingdom because someone like Karen can't stand anything she can't control. And the minute she heard I was out of town through the neighborhood grapevine, of course she saw an opening. Apparently she told her daughter Courtney and Courtney's friends that they were going to throw a social enrichment event for the teens on my ranch, without asking. No permission, no call, no note, nothing. Just take it. Like my land was a rentable pavilion at the park. Sunday morning I drove back early. I came down my gravel drive and didn't recognize my own gate. Streamers were hanging from it like somebody decorated for a baby shower. Empty soda bottles and greasy pizza boxes were scattered across the grass. My American flag, my dad's flag, had been taken down and replaced with a pink welcome party banner. And then I saw the cars, a dozen of them jammed around like they'd discovered a secret resort. I parked my SUV at the back entrance and walked in quietly, trying to figure out what level of stupid I was about to deal with. I could hear music thumping from portable speakers, cheap bass, the kind that makes your ribs vibrate and your patience evaporate. Teens were lounging in swimwear by my cattle pond like it was a hotel pool. Somebody had dragged folding tables out near the barn. Red Solo cups everywhere, snack wrappers blowing around in the wind like tumbleweeds of bad decisions. I was still in dusty work boots and jeans. I'd been rounding up fencing supplies earlier. My badge was in my bag because I was off duty. I wasn't there as the chief. I was there as a landowner trying to understand why my ranch looked like a frat house sponsored by chaos. Then Courtney found me. She strutted up with 3 other girls, crop tops, oversized sunglasses, nails long enough to open a can with, and pointed at me like I was a stray dog on her porch. "You're not invited," she shrieked, finger out like a sword. "Get off the property before I call security." I blinked. Not because I was scared, because I was stunned at the audacity. I said, "Real calm, leave. This is my property." She rolled her eyes so hard I swear they almost fell out. "My mom said this place is reserved for us today. You can't just hang around while my friends are here." And then, like she was performing for a camera, she pulled out her phone and pretended to dial. I stared at her, then past her. My barn doors were wide open. Someone was riding one of my horses like it was a carnival ride. A couple teenage boys were tossing beer cans into my pond. And right there in the middle of it all, Courtney turned back to me and said, "You're making a mistake by not leaving when we told you. My mom owns this HOA, okay? She can kick you out whenever she wants, so get out." Oh, get. That's when my phone buzzed. Deputy Rogers. I didn't answer, not yet, because Courtney took one step closer and shoved me. "Move it, lady. You're creeping us out." I staggered half a step, not because she was strong, but because I truly didn't expect a 17-year-old to put hands on me on my own porch. Something inside me snapped clean and cold. I clipped my badge onto my belt where everyone could see it and gave her the kind of stare you develop after years of watching grown adults lie badly. Before I could speak, a screeching engine tore up the driveway. Karen arrived in a black BMW SUV, sunglasses the size of dinner plates, stepping out like she owned the planet. She strutted up the gravel with that little purse swinging on her arm, a smile so fake you could have used it as a Halloween mask. "Well, well, well," she purred. "Look who decided to show up." "Madison, dear, I thought you were out of town." "I came back early," I said, arms crossed. Karen waved a hand like I was being dramatic. "No worries, we're just having a little gathering for the kids. You weren't using the place anyway." "I wasn't using it," I said, "but I certainly didn't loan it out." Courtney jumped in loud and theatrical. "Mom, this weird lady is bothering us." I told her to leave, but she won't go. And Karen, dead serious, looked me in the face and said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave Madison. You're upsetting the children." I swear for 1 second, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so insane it felt like a prank. Then I noticed Courtney wasn't pretending anymore. She was calling 911, actually calling. I could hear the operator faintly through the speaker. 911, what's your emergency? Courtney put on her best little victim voice. "Yes, there's a strange woman trespassing on our property, and she's acting super aggressive. I think she's dangerous." That's when I unhooked my radio and spoke into it like I was ordering lunch. "Dispatch, this is Chief Madison. I've got a situation at my residence. Need a unit to roll up for immediate assistance." Courtney's jaw dropped. Karen's face drained so fast she looked like a candle left in the sun. The music faltered. Heads turned. The air shifted. You could feel the whole party realize all at once that this wasn't a game anymore. And then, because the universe loves timing, one of the boys came sprinting up from the pond screaming, "Hey!" One of the horses got loose and jumped the fence. Everything exploded. Karen screamed. Teens scattered. Someone started crying. And I took off running toward the back field because that horse wasn't just any horse. Thunder is our highest-strung gelding, fast, reactive, and strong enough to turn a mistake into a funeral. I sprinted past the barn boots, kicking up dry dirt, heart pounding with a different kind of fear now. I saw the broken latch on the fence. Some genius had leaned a bike against it, popped it loose. Thunder's brown and white body was already cutting toward County Road 9. I grabbed my radio. "Thunder's loose near County Road 9. Animal control on standby. I'm trying to intercept." I whistled loud, cupped my hands. "Thunder, whoa, boy, easy." He paused just enough to recognize my voice. Then another kid came charging behind him, arms flailing like an idiot, and Thunder bolted harder. I cut across the pasture, legs burning, and that's when I saw a pickup coming down the road too fast. I had seconds. I waved my arms like a maniac, yelling, trying to flag the driver. Miraculously, the driver slammed his brakes right as Thunder burst out of the brush and skidded on the pavement, hooves scraping, slipping, but he stayed upright. He spun and tore back toward my ranch like he knew he'd just cheated death. I stood there, bent over, hands on my knees, panting, trying not to picture what could have happened. A minute later, Jose pulled up in his old pickup, still in his overalls, eyes wide. "Chief, I came as fast as I could." "Help me corral him," I said. Together, we herded Thunder back, using feed and calm voices, until he finally let us lead him into the stable, snorting and trembling like a living thunderstorm. By the time we secured him, Deputy Rogers pulled into my driveway, stepped out, and looked at my lawn like it had personally offended him. Chief," he said carefully, "what exactly am I walking into?" "You're looking at trespassing," I said, "with a side of property damage, unauthorized entry, underage drinking, and endangering livestock." Karen stormed up, heels clicking like gunshots. "Officer, this is a huge misunderstanding. We were just borrowing the space. I'm HOA president, you know me." Rogers didn't even blink. "Ma'am, this is the chief's private property. HOA jurisdiction doesn't extend here." That's when Courtney shrieked from behind. And here's where the first real twist hit me. She said this place was community property. She said it was fine. I turned slow. So Karen hadn't just trespassed, she'd lied to her own kid, told her my ranch wasn't even mine. Like she was testing out a new reality where saying something makes it true. I called the crowd together. "Party's over. Everyone under 18 sits on the porch until your parents arrive. Anyone over 18 starts cleaning. Now." When I barked, now they moved. Funny how fast Queen of the HOA energy dies when a real badge shows up. We started building the case statements, photos documenting damage, and that's when Courtney knocked over a table and screamed, "My phone's gone. Somebody stole my phone." At first I thought, great, now we've got teen drama on top of everything else. But then she said something that made my gut tighten. "That phone has everything. My drafts, my influencer pitch, the video I made of our party invite." Rogers and I exchanged a look. "What video?" he asked. Courtney froze. Karen got twitchy. And I knew right then there was something on that phone they didn't want anyone to see. We did a sweep. Jose found it half buried under hay wrapped in a dusty towel. Hidden, not dropped. I powered it on no password and opened the gallery. There it was, a 2-minute video titled HOA Takeover, and the caption was basically a confession. Watch us kick the chief off her own land. I hit play. Courtney filmed herself laughing, panning across my ranch like she was giving a tour of stolen property. You could hear her saying, "Who needs permission when your mom is queen of the HOA?" Then it cut to kids climbing fences, spray painting initials on my horse stalls, acting like destruction was entertainment. When we walked back to the porch, Courtney's face went gray the second she saw her phone in my hand. "This yours?" I asked. She didn't answer. "Don't worry," I said. "Great production quality. Shame about the felony." Karen actually gasped. Felony! Knowingly recording criminal activity and planning to distribute it online is a problem. I said, especially when it involves minors, property damage, and impersonation. Courtney burst into tears. "I didn't mean it. I just wanted to go viral." And that's when Sheriff Wyatt rolled in. Someone tipped dispatch. He watched the video, then looked up and said, "Chief, I think you'll want to press charges." "I do," I said. Then Jose called out from the barn again, voice tight. "Madison, you might want to see this." Someone had carved into my barn door, "HOA owns this now," and they signed Courtney's name. We photographed it, taped it off. Karen looked like regret had finally found her address. Courtney sobbed into her expensive sleeves. And I would have thought, okay, we've got enough, until Jose led me inside the barn. And I saw the empty rack where my father's old hand-carved saddle used to hang. Gone. In its place was a note taped to the wall. "Told you we could take whatever we wanted. Thanks for the souvenir." Girls rule. That saddle wasn't just leather. It was my father's hands, his history, the last real piece of him that still lived in my daily life. And some kid took it like it was a decoration. That's when accountability stopped being a concept and became a mission. I pulled security footage. Most cameras were off. Someone yanked power, but they didn't know about the hidden motion sensor cam in the loft vent. On the footage, 3 girls crept in after dark. One had a rhinestone hoodie that said, "Batty Club long straight hair dyed purple at the ends." They pulled the saddle down, stuffed it into a gym bag, posed for a photo, and disappeared. I stormed back outside, tablet in hand. "Courtney, who's the girl with purple hair?" Her mouth fell open. That's Melinda." Rogers got the address. 15 minutes later, we pulled up to a modern gated home in a suburb. Melinda's mother answered the door, confused and worried. Melinda came down the stairs, saw me, and her eyes dropped to the gym bag by the front door. There it was, my father's saddle barely zipped inside. Melinda burst into tears. "I didn't think it mattered." Courtney said everything in the barn was for decoration, like some old Western prop. "Old Western prop?" I repeated, voice low, trying not to shake. "That saddle is 50 years old. It's priceless." Her mom begged. Melinda begged. And here's where my badge and my heart had to meet in the middle, because I don't want a kid's life destroyed, but I also won't teach them crime is negotiable. "You have 24 hours to bring that saddle to the sheriff's office," I said. "If it's not there, full charges. If it is, we pursue restitution and community sentencing." We got it back, scratched, but back. And just when the sun started setting, and it felt like maybe the nightmare was ending, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You think this is over? HOA, girls stick together." That's when the second twist hit, bigger than Karen, bigger than Courtney. This wasn't just a party. It was organized. I traced the number. Burner phone, prepaid, no registration, cute. So I dug into call logs and found Courtney had exchanged over 30 messages with a contact labeled VPHOA. Karen was president, so who was the vice president? Nancy Whitmore, Karen's best friend. Quiet, smug, the kind of woman who smiles while she stabs. I pulled the thread and one message made my blood run cold. "Make sure Maddie's gone. If you pull it off, we'll bring you to the yacht party with the big girls. Earn your stripes." They weren't just letting teens be reckless. These adults were grooming them, turning the HOA into some pathetic little cult with status and hazing and missions. That night, an anonymous TikTok account posted drone footage over my ranch, slow, creepy, zooming in on my barn, my house, my animals, with text that read, "She thought we were finished, but the party's just getting started. HOA for life." We found the drone stuck in a tree SD card inside. We decrypted it. Launch point traced back near Nancy's street. And then a package showed up on my porch. No return address containing fluorescent green landscaping dye and a fake HOA citation, excessive lawn dominance. Mocking me for having land, for being independent, for not bending. So I called an emergency town hall that night and packed the community center full. Karen sat front row with her lawyer. Nancy hovered in the back with that smug little smile until I hit play on the projector. Trespassing video, drone footage, text thread, audio, the whole ugly truth. Gasps rolled through the room like thunder. Nancy's face went from smug to sick in about 2 seconds. Sheriff Wyatt walked up and served her an arrest warrant right there. Karen tried to slip out and Roger stopped her at the door like, "Nope, sit down, ma'am. Your empire is collapsing." That was the moment the HOA elite realized their titles didn't mean a thing in a courtroom. Later, when I got home, someone had spray painted by my mailbox. "Not your land." I stood there staring at it, breathing slow, feeling that bitter little lesson. Land in my chest power doesn't always wear a uniform, and cruelty doesn't always look like a criminal. Sometimes it looks like a neighbor with a smile in a rule book. But the flip side is this. Truth is louder than intimidation when you drag it into the light, and community is stronger than any petty little kingdom once people stop being afraid to speak. In the weeks that followed, the HOA board was suspended under emergency review. Financial records got audited. Nancy faced charges. Karen and Courtney faced theirs. Restitution was ordered. Community service was assigned. And my ranch, it got something it never had before. Not just fences and locks, but witnesses, allies, a town that finally woke up and said enough. So yeah, when people ask me if it felt good watching Karen's face crumble when her fantasy collapsed, I'll be honest, it did. Not because I enjoy watching anyone fall, but because I'm tired of watching bullies win just because everyone else stays quiet. Now here's what I want to know. If you were in my boots, would you press charges all the way? Even if it meant a kid's future might take a hit? Or would you let it slide and hope they learned on their own? And if you've ever dealt with an HOA or any kind of petty power trip, tell me what happened. Drop your story. Tell me where you land on justice versus mercy. And let's talk about what people do when they think the rules don't apply to them.